Let's go.
Audio
Yeah. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go. Let's go. Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever, wherever you find yourself. Welcome to the Power Series. Yeah, I know you're wondering why is this guy hyper? Yeah, I am extra hyper. That's what happens when you have an awesome person on your show. Yes, I mean on my show, guys. Look, if you've been following me for the past week, right, you know that I've been making noise and hyping, you know, today's show. It's serious. It's serious because this is a person I've been admiring, in the shadows. And the things she does with the power ups, especially for UI UX, if you haven't seen it, stick and stay. You understand why in a few. Well, I'm yours truly, Samuel Adranyu, streaming live from Accra, Ghana, with another episode of the Power Series. In today's episode, I have a special guest, and we're going to be talking about building awesome, beautiful power ups, and she's going to take you to the next level. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, stick and stay with us. When we come back from the montage, we're going to get right into it. Yes, welcome again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Power Series, and we demystify everything Power Platform. Today, like I said, I'm honored, excited, all the adjectives, all the words, think about it, to have with me someone who's going to take us to the next level. I'm not going to talk much. I'm not. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you for joining the show. I'm not going to talk much I won't take the fun out of it. This is my single honor and pleasure to welcome to the stream and welcome to the show, Christine. With a round of applause, guys. Let's give it to her. 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 Welcome to the stream. This is
Hi, Samuel.
hi. I'm
How are
like
you doing? You okay?
I'm okay. I couldn't be better. You honoring, you honoring the show is just, to speak to the fact that all of us in the power addict community support each other. We're here to promote, to drive content, to help all of you out there, to be better when you're, running, when you're using the power platform. And today is a typical example. So first of all, I will say on behalf of myself, the viewers, and the listeners and all of us, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for joining the stream.
No problem at all. It's an absolute pleasure to be
I
here.
think
Thank you
you're
so much
muted.
for inviting me. Oh, am I?
Let's see if we can. Yeah,
Can
we
you
can
hear
hear you now.
me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, this is so fun. Super excited for this session. I know we've been planning it for a couple of weeks now, and yeah, I have been following you for a very long time as well. So I'm honored to be here tonight.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, like we do on the show, I'm sure a lot of people would want to know who is Christine. You know, we know you're a principal tech consultant at computer center, but like we do on the show, we want to know who you are. We want to know how you got into technology. You know the journey and where you are now. We do this because there's someone watching who is probably at the point in their lives now that they are thinking, I want to, take a step. Your story could be encouraging to that person to also make that move. So tell us, who is Christine?
Yeah, no. Oh my God, where do I start? So I think the best word, I guess, to describe me is probably geek. That's probably the best word. So no, so like you said, my name is Christine Kolodziejski. I'm originally from Poland, so I moved to the UK about 9 years ago now. I moved just after school, well, nearly just after school. So I got into IT through kind of sideways journey, I guess. So I finished school, did my IT A levels, did my computer science A levels and business management, and then I decided I wanted to become a police officer. So yeah, so I joined a police school. Now that police school was a specialist kind of force school, so it's the equivalent of, I'd say, SAS in England, or
Okay.
SWAT in America, because I'd always wanted to join the police force. I have no idea why. I remember as a kid sitting on Santa's lap. You know, when you go to like Santa's grotto,
Mm-hmm.
and Santa always asks, Christine, what do you want to be as when you're an adult? Do you want to be a singer, a
Yeah.
celebrity, an actress? And I was like, no, I just want to be a police officer. So, and actually, that's kind of stayed with me because I absolutely love watching police drama. So, I love watching police series, films, anything action is awesome. So yeah, so like I said, I moved to the UK. I got a job in business management, and I didn't quite like it. I'm not going to lie, business management is not for me. I've always been a geek, always liked programming, always liked coding, always liked gaming as well. And I knew that wasn't for me. So I kind of continued with that journey. And then just by accident, I managed to start doing some SharePoint administration, and I fell in love with it. I thought that was the kind of entry door for me. I thought, perfect kind of start to my career. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I managed to find a role strictly in IT. Now, that was definitely a challenge working with techies that have been in the industry for like 20, 30 years, that know every single thing about firewalls, networking, and then all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
To welcome someone that doesn't know all of that
Yeah.
is a challenge for me, and it's a challenge for them as well, because you now have a teammate that has no clue what an inbound traffic is. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that was kind of a challenge for me. So I had to learn very, very quickly because I hate being a kind of
Yeah.
disappointment. Yes. And then I started playing around with Azure as well. So started discovering Azure Cognitive Services and all of that. And then we were working on deployment of Microsoft 365, upgrading from Skype on-prem to
On-premise,
Teams.
yeah.
And I got kind of suggested to get interested in Power Platform. And here I am. I loved it. I literally loved everything about it. I loved building applications, connecting to data, and all of that. And yeah, a couple of years later, I'm now 13 times Microsoft certified professional. Along the way, I've learned how to do HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I can do C# as well. And I'm just learning React as well, just because I don't need it, but I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So,
you seem to have a lot under your belt, like a black belt. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been definitely a fun journey. Like I said, I'm a huge geek, so I don't find it boring at all.
Yeah.
I love learning new things. I love pushing boundaries, like you said before. It gets to a point where I just think, I want to try something new. I want to learn something new.
Something new.
And then kind of came UI and UX in Power Apps. So I've been working with Power Apps for a while, building applications, and thought, what if I try and make it a little bit nicer? And here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And here you are. That's awesome. I mean, I like the fact that you mentioned you had a totally different career path, and
Yeah.
just with perseverance, and the fact that, hey, I can do this. I want to do this. That sheer drive. You pretty much have picked a lot of things. There's C#, there is Azure in there. You're now doing even React. I mean, that is a lot. And I'm sure one would ask, for someone maybe struggling or thinking, I also want to make that shift. um, how what is the best way for them to approach it? What's the best way for them to have that shift or jump into a new path like you did?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So I always say, don't be scared. Don't think that having a computer science degree is
Mm,
the only way into IT. Don't think that having 20 years of experience is the only way to IT. There's technology in general is such a broad aspect. There's so much in there that you can
mm,
start with. And I'd always say, it just doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 20, 30, or you're near retirement age. Any age is good to get into tech or pretty much anything you love. If you decide that I worked with someone that worked in IT for 20 years, and one day she decided to leave because she wanted to become a yoga teacher. Now, I would never do that because that's way too much courage
yeah.
for me. But I thought, wow, like she's amazing. And I
Mm,
think if you truly love something, and you know it's going to make you happy, just go for it. Don't listen to people that will try and stop you. Just do it because you will not regret it. And I couldn't be happier being in the career I am right now. I absolutely love what I do for work. I love contributing to the community as well. I think it's just awesome. And I think one thing that I find really satisfying about the community is, being able to contribute, create new things,
mm,
and actually see people do them. I mean, yesterday my Twitter was going crazy because people
yeah.
were trying out the kind of pneumorphic buttons, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, it's actually people really like what I'm doing, and it's
Yeah.
it's just really encouraging. So I'd always say, if there's something that you truly love, just go for it. Don't
Yeah.
worry about what people say,
Exactly.
and just go for it. Life, you've only got one life, so you might as well. As cliche as that might sound, you've
Yeah.
you've only got one life.
Yeah. Just go for it, and that's the key. And it's I think one of the difficult things to for people when you trying to make the transition is getting started, because I
Yeah.
think I remember even myself when I wanted to get into this whole stream, and I kept saying it. I want to do it. I want to do it, but all it took was just that very first crappy stream, and this is where we are. So yeah, just get into it. And I can see the couple of I see some lights, I see that you like the aesthetics as well going on. So I'm sure there is more to just the aesthetics on the power ups than to it. But let's bring it to the show. Let's talk power platform power
Perfect.
ups. You started working on it. What was the motivation to build, you know to make the aesthetics? What was the motivation?
Yeah, I think without obviously saying anything bad, no, I think out of the box canvas apps do the job. Obviously, they look okay, but
Mm,
there's just something that they are missing, I guess, a little bit of umph, I guess, to the design. So I think it's just making it a little bit more modern, making it look like your native application. So when you go download an application on your mobile, you see all of these kind of pretty React buttons, all of the
mm,
animations and
mm,
everything else. That's what I felt was missing, and even a little bit of depth. So even by adding things like box shadow,
yeah.
you just add that nice kind of depth
Mm,
around the application, and
mm,
it straight away just brings it up. And I'm not saying that UX and UI is what you need to focus when you build an application first, but there's no lying that as human beings, as long as you're not partially sighted, or you don't have any
yeah.
sight visual impairments, the first things that we as human beings interact with is what we see.
See,
That's
yeah.
that's that's what our brain processes first. And then 98%, I think, if I remember correctly, of information that we see our brains process, it's a lot less for visual and kind of logical things. So really, by making applications look nice and feel good
Mm,
to the user, you are increasing the user adoption. And a good example to that would be Samuel. Let's just say you're buying a house
yeah.
and in Ghana, and you have two houses. One is an amazing villa,
Mm-hmm.
and one is an okay house that was built, let's say, 50 years ago. That
Mm-hmm.
does the job because you can sleep in it.
Yeah.
They both cost the same. They do
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same job. You are likely to go for the first one, the one that looks nicer and
Yeah.
is newer, not because you're shallow. It's because you will feel better in it. It makes you feel better, and it's better value as well. So that's what users will. That's the kind of choice that the users will have. If you have a choice between a power app that costs, let's say, $5 per month per
Mm,
user if you're using premium connectors, and then you have an application from the App Store that costs, let's say, yeah, let's say $4 as an example, or $5 as well, you're going to go for the application that looks better and then feels better, even though they do both the same jobs. The end users don't care about the technical side of things. They don't care if the data is going to America or any other country. They care about how they feel when they interact with the application. And I think that's why it's really important to kind of focus on the end user experience a lot more than we have done so far.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for me, the next transition would be, I want to build, something that is aesthetically or visually appealing, or something that will get the wow factor. What is your thought process? How do you start? Like, okay, I want to build this. Walk us through your process of before we see the things we see you do. What process do you go through?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. So one thing, and I did a demo with Microsoft a couple of weeks ago. So the first thing that I always say is have a look around you and get inspired. So download the mobile application, have a look at the last application you used. What did you like about it? Have a look at a website you really enjoy accessing. What do you like about it? What's making it so kind of enticing, I guess, to use it? Now, there's two other things that every developer will know, two other places. So the first one is CodePen.io. CodePen is a fantastic repository, I guess, of designs, buttons, components, just source code in general, to see how people have approached a problem. So if you're looking for a nice button, whatever that might be, you can see exactly how people have approached it. And the second one, especially in terms of design, is called Dribbble.com. That's literally my favorite website. If I'm ever stuck for design or what I want to design next, I will go into Dribbble, find, let's say, a mobile application, and I can try to recreate that design in my Power App, with obviously changing a few things as well. And actually, that's what I'll be doing soon as well. So a very shameless plug, but I'm starting I'm starting a YouTube channel very soon, and one of the things that I'll be doing there is a Power Platform Challenge, UI challenge. So what I mean by that is someone can submit, or I will find a design on Dribbble as an example, and I need to recreate it in Power Apps. I've not seen anyone do that before, so I'm claiming it before anyone takes it. But so that's the kind of thought process. I think it's just seeing what you think looks nice, asking people what they think as well, because sometimes you think something looks nice, but then you end up having 100 buttons and then 20 animations on your screen, and it looks awful, and it's too busy, and someone will tell you. So that's my kind of design process, I guess.
Awesome. I mean, we are waiting for that YouTube channel. I'm sure I'm going to be submitting a lot of a lot of ideas for the apps to be built. Well, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, Sam, you've been talking 20 minutes, 21 minutes into the show. I'm not here to listen to." But look, we need to understand and appreciate the person behind the cool things. So I think we're going to jump right into it. What do you have for us today? What are you going to show us today on the show?
Yeah, I have an application with about 15 screens of various things I want to show you. So if you want to learn how to make your SVG glow, how to animate it, how to add nice shiny buttons, stay tuned.
Awesome. I think, Christine, take it. It's all yours now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Samuel. Right. Awesome. Perfect. Awesome. Right. The first kind of screen, as you can see, is obviously just about me. So if anyone watching wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, or if you want to subscribe to my blog, there's the QR code right on the top here. So you can scan it using your mobile phone. We will share it after the video as well. So just a little bit about me. You already know, I've already told you. So 13 times Microsoft certified professional, very UX, UI obsessed, which is probably why Samuel has invited me here, I hope. I'm a very active community contributor. I absolutely love the community. I think our community is the best. Contributing to it, sharing knowledge, and actually seeing people use what you've created is the most rewarding thing ever. I'm an avid gamer, so if you play Xbox or on your PC and you want to have a play, let me know. And I'm also dog mum, so if you can hear me snoring in the background, that's my little chow chow snoring his life away. So the first thing that we'll go over is around theming. So theming can be a bit, I guess, basic, but obviously I want to make sure that everyone understands the principle. So one thing that you'll find a lot of the times is when you go to Teams, Visual Studio Code, or any really platform where you can sign into, a lot of the time you'll have the ability to change your theme. So whether you want to change it to dark, light, high contrast as an example, you will have the ability to do that. So as an end user, a lot of the time, if I'm going to be using the application very frequently, I might want to be able to set the preferred theme, or I want to just choose through the themes. So the way we can do it is we can create a collection in the application. So as you can see, we have a button here that says collect themes. And within this button, I'll just make that slightly cleaner. Within this button, as you can see, we have 3 different records. So these are our themes. And the first one is name. The first one is default. So the default theme is the theme that the application will start on when we launch it. Then we have the dark theme, which obviously we'll be able to change to dark, and then monochrome. So what we will do is I will actually show you how you can easily connect your controls on your screen to those themes. So then next time you decide to change a color in your theme, or you decide to add a new theme, you won't have to do much work at all. So let's just crack on and show you how to do that. If we, let's say, go to this control as an example, and we will go to the fill property of our control, fill color here. What we want to do is we will be looking up to that theme. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to perform a lookup function. And what we are looking up to, like I said, is the collection of our themes. And then we need to put some conditions. So in here, we will put the condition where the name of the theme matches what we've chosen in a dropdown here. I already have a dropdown that I created earlier on. There we go, with all of our themes. If I just quickly click on that again, there we go. And if we just quickly go into here. So what we want to do is we want to do where name equals the combo box dot selected dot value. Selected dot show why that's doing that. Okay, combo box dot selected, and then we will bring up the let's just say we will bring up the primary color. I'm not sure why that didn't work properly. For some reason, we are getting a little bit of a problem in here, which is just expected. Right, let's just quickly take that down again. That's okay. I think I know what's happened there. So if we just quickly hard code our themes in here, we'll just do default, we'll do dark, and then we'll do monochrome. Okay, and then because we're using a Teams combo box, what we have to do in here is we will have to add the value to our control. So if we just remove that, add the value, and there we go. And now if I just navigate into here, we'll be able to see them again. Right, so let's just navigate to our thing. Now, as you can see, I think that's worked now. Perfect, we are not getting an error. So what we've effectively done is the color of this button will be changed as I change through the themes. So just to show you what I mean, if I just do default, as you can see, now the dark theme, I think the primary color for the dark theme is slightly lighter. And then for the monochrome theme, as you can see, we have darker. So what that means is if I was to add a brand new theme to this application now, so let's just go to our collection of themes, and we'll go to the onSelect property. If we just drop that down, if we just add one more record in here, so we will just start over here, add a new record. We'll change that record to say Samuel's record, Samuel's theme. And then we will just change the primary color. Let's say we will do it color that's going to end up being, apologies if that's a very ugly color. That's a purple color. Okay, so what would happen now is if I click on collect themes, and then if I go to here and we'll add Samuel's theme, Samuel's, okay, I think that's what I called it, if I remember correctly. Of course it did. Right, so if I do collect theme, I should be able to go to here, and as you can see, that's changing the color. So what that means is that every single time you add a brand new theme to your application, you don't have to go through your controls. Now, if you didn't do it this way and you wanted to let's say change the color of each of the controls manually, individually, if someone says, oh, corporate branding colors have changed, or we don't like this, we want another theme, you are then going to have to manually go through every single control in your application to be able to change the color. So this is just a really quick way of doing it. Now, there's 2 things that I've shared in here. One thing is the contrast checker. So you want to make sure that the colors that you're using have the right amount of contrast in line with the WCAG guidelines, which is accessibility guidelines. And the next thing I wanted to share with you as well is Sancho Harkis, which goes by the name of Iron Man Cat, theming templates. Sancho pulled together an amazing template to use theming out of the box. So you don't even have to do that manually. You can just go to his GitHub repository and download this amazing application and get that up and running. The next thing I'm going to quickly go over is the Creator Kit. So if you're within the Power Platform and you work with Canvas apps a lot, you'll know that the PowerCat team recently launched an amazing Creator Kit. This kit, again, is available on the GitHub repo, so you can download it anytime and import it into your application. It is literally a library of Canvas components and PCF controls that you can use directly in your application, and they are kind of fluent UI themed. So if you want to achieve that nice, sharp and clean Microsoft look in your applications, you can use that straight out of the box. I have linked the docs on Microsoft website as well, how to set everything up too, because these are not really doing it much justice. There's a lot more in there, just didn't fit on the screen. I'm sorry. So the next thing is the HTML control. Now, the HTML control, I'm always going to keep giving credit to our lovely Geetha, one of the Microsoft BizApps MVPs. She's the person that pointed me to the HTML control through her blog. So a while back, if I was to just quickly navigate to the blog, a while back, I saw Geetha's blog, this post here, and I was in love with it. I thought, wow, I want to achieve that myself. Like, how did she even come up with that in the first place? So Geetha has described how to add box shadow in here and how to create your applications to make your applications look nice and minimalistic. And I was sold. At that point, I knew, I need to start doing this as well. I need to start making my applications look really nice. So that's where my journey started. And ever since, I've been kind of exploring that further. So, and then the next thing that I'll go over in a second anyway. So the first thing that we'll go over around the kind of HTML control, if I just quickly zoom in a little bit more, is the ability to add box shadow. Now, box shadow, as you can see, is that kind of, for anyone that's watching that doesn't know what that means, is that nice kind of shadow in the background. So it creates a kind of 3D look and feel. It creates a kind of dynamic feel to the application. Now, if you're not sure how to navigate around the kind of box shadow properties, so things like blur, offset, don't worry, you don't have to know that. I have actually got a hack for anyone watching this. If you want to quickly add nice box shadow, but you're not a developer or you just can't be bothered or you're not creative to do one, I actually have linked a website in here. If I was to just quickly navigate to this website, this website has 93 nice box shadows out of the box. So all you have to do is copy one and paste it into a HTML control. So Samuel, I want you to choose the box shadow that you like the most as I'm scrolling down, and then
let's do 21. I think I like the way 21 has the outlines a bit subtle. So
yeah, okay, perfect. So all we have to do is just click on that. If we navigate to the application, and we will go to our HTML control. All we have to do is just replace the box shadow in here. So if I just quickly do Control V, and then we'll remove the semicolon at the end, as you can see, we have that nice box shadow in there. Let's go for another one. Let's just go for this 26 as an example. If we just go into here, and then I'll include the semicolon this time. We'll take that out, paste the box shadow, and as you can see, we have a really nice box shadow. And that is really simple as that to add box shadow. If you want to declare the same box shadow across your application, ideally you will probably declare that in your app on start as let's say a variable or in a collection of themes. But that's really as easily as you can add that in. So let's just say, Samuel, that you decide to change the color. What's your favorite color? I probably shouldn't have asked this. Now I'm going to have to Google the RGBA value for it.
I would go with, I usually like orange with gold, but I'll stick with orange. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's just find a nice orange in here. If we just go to, let's say, how bright would you like your orange to be? Do you like it to be very yellowy, bright orange, or do you want it to be more kind of on the orangey side?
Yes.
Like that?
Yeah,
Perfect.
exactly.
Right. So we have 2471320. So what I'm actually going to show is how you can make that box shadow in the back look like it is glowing. So not just look like a box shadow, but actually look like it's glowing. So if we just change the RGB, so in here, as you can see, we have 3 RGB values. Sorry, 2, 1 here, 1 here. What we need to do is we need to change the RGB values to the values of that color. So I think if my memory isn't too bad, I think that was 232, 147, 7 and 0. And then what we will do is we will copy those RGB values into here as well. And that's how easily you can make your application look like it's glowing. Now, if we just go back to my previous screen as an example, as you can see, I have that kind of nice blue kind of glowing box shadow in there. Again, I know it's very extra, but don't we like being extra? So that's one thing that you can do. Now, there's so much more that you can do with a HTML control. So with a HTML control, as an example, you can do, let's say, add text. So if you want to add text, we can just say, let's just say we can do, hi, Samuel. As you can, that's typing in the background. Now, the reason why obviously this color is inheriting the color from here, but if you want to declare a different color, we can obviously do, let's say, we will just do black as an example. Oops, change the wrong thing. Let's just add the color property in here, and we'll call it black. And as you can see, that text is now black. And again, this works exactly like HTML works. So if I wanted to make Samuel bold, I will make him bold as an example. There we go. We'll close that tag off. If I wanted to move that, let's say we will, what else do we want to do in here? If we want to just say the padding of the text, we will change it to, let's say, 10px, and then we'll do, let's say, 20px from the top. As you can see, that's going to move, so it lays out a little bit nicely in here. If we want to add, let's say, a smiley face as well, we can. Now, there's two things really that we can't do right now. So at the moment, I'm working on it, is we can't add animations to the HTML control. Now, when I say I'm working on it, I'm trying to work out what an easy way to do it that will be understandable for people as well. And then the second thing that we can't do is pass parameters back from our HTML control to the application. So if I was to just show you what I mean, obviously in HTML, we can do something like, let's say, like a button. Let's just say we'll add a button, input type, we'll do it as a button. Let's just say we'll call it button, and then we'll give it the value of click me as an example. If we just close that off, that will create a button for us, as you can see, that we can click on. It's not moving for us, but unfortunately, there's no way to actually pass the parameters or create some kind of action to happen when you do that. And there's actually a lot more that you can do. So if you wanted to have a radio button as well, which is just really annoying because it would just be so nice if you were able to, if I just remove that value, and we'll take that out, you'll see that we have the radio button in here as well. But unfortunately, for the time being, we can't pass. And like I said, I'm working on the animation. I think I will crack it sometime. But yeah.
I believe you can, because I have seen people build games, build crazy, stuff with power up. So I will never say never. I know it's possible, and I know the team is also hard at work trying to make some of these things much easier for us, because I know one of the challenges with this is you can build all the cool stuff and having to pass, but I'm sure you're going to touch on how to create components and pass properties to it. So I'm just calmly waiting for you to get to that point.
Thanks, Samuel. Thank you so much. Right, so that's on the HTML control. We will go back to it shortly anyway. And then SVGs. Now, I know I talk about it a lot on my Twitter and LinkedIn. The reason why is because SVGs allow you to do anything. Whether you want to have a nice icon, or you want to have a floating rectangle, or you want to have your company logo animated, you can do that with SVGs. Now, some people will say, Christine, you can do that with a timer control in your application as well, and like update context variables. Yes, you can, but you're very limited what you can do. It's never going to be quite as smooth as an SVG, like a code application, just because of how the timer control works. And by using a timer control, you are adding additional controls to your screen. So don't forget that we are bound by around a 500 control limit in your application to make sure that it's running optimally, that you don't get a lot of loading times and all of that. So with SVGs, for anyone that doesn't know, even though I brag about them all the time as well, SVGs are built using what's called XML. Now, the easiest way to imagine what an XML is just think you have an Excel spreadsheet and you have those little cells in your Excel spreadsheet. Just imagine that you call out each one of them and build an icon. That's effectively what it is. You have those little kind of building blocks that comprise that build that SVG itself. So the SVGs, to get an SVG into the application, there's loads of articles around available anyway, and I've done one on my blog as well. To add an SVG to the application, you have to use the data and then image / SVG plus XML to define the framework. And then we have to use the encode URL function. And then here's where our SVG code goes. So what I have done in here is we have the ability to actually dynamically change the colors of our SVGs. So if you want to define the same color of SVGs for your whole application, you can do that directly here. We're using a slider control. There's no reason to not have, let's say, a text input where you put RGB values manually, or if you have hex values as an example, you can do that as well. Now, the way I'm doing it is, if I was to just quickly zoom into that a little bit, as you can see, we are declaring RGB values in the field property of SVG. So we can declare that directly into the path. Again, I'm not going to bore you with the details, or we can declare that directly in where we define the namespace and all of the components of SVG. And all we're doing is, as you can see, we are calling the RGBA function in SVG. And then in the brackets, we are using the double quote and an ampersand. That's a way to refer to something outside of the code, so within your application. And then once we've done that, we are just referring to our slider controls in here, so the values of the slider controls, and that's really how we're doing it. That's not as simple as it is. So what that means is that if you wanted to use these SVGs in your applications, you are able to copy and paste them across your screen, and as you change those slider controls, these will automatically change the color as well. Now, I know what people are going to say, Christine, we already have icons in Power Apps, why don't we just use them? Yes, you certainly have, and I'm not saying do not use them. There's a lot of kind of cool icons in there, but that icon set is limited. I think there's only around 30 or 40 icons, or perhaps a little bit more in there. And they are all kind of limited in terms of what you can do with them. So if you want to animate things, like I said, you'd have to use a timer. If you want to add, let's say, linear gradient, which I'll show you today as well, you are limited to not being able to do that. And like I said, the icons out of the box are okay. They do the job. They're not bad. But if you want to take your application to the next level, you might as well just use SVGs as well. Now, the next thing, the next couple of screens I'm going to kind of go over is around SVGs and what you can actually do. So the first thing, like I said, is we have actually, just before we do that as well, on the SVGs part as well, as you can see, we have two links in here. This is the links where I get all of my SVGs from. The first one, icons get Bootstrap. If I was to just quickly go into that website, if we just navigate into here, this is where you can copy all of the SVGs directly into your application. Again, I'm not going to bore you with the details on how to do that today. It's on my blog. And the second one is SVG repo. Now, with the second link, you have to be careful because some of them actually have a license, so you can't use them for commercial purposes, as an example. Right, so let's actually do some cool stuff then. So let's just add a linear gradient. So as you can see, we have a kind of hard balloon in here, and we have another balloon that's black. So what I'm actually going to show you is how you can quickly add linear gradients. Now, because I know there will be people that don't know code, and I don't want to go into the kind of nitty-gritty stuff on how to actually do this, I will show you the hacker way, how to get linear gradients into your SVG. So when we open the code, at first, you might think, wow, Christine, I'm never going into that. There's way too much text in here. So if we just open the SVG that doesn't have the linear gradient, SVGs a lot of them comprise of what's called a path. So the path is effectively a kind of building block. Now, in our instance, we just have one path, which is defining the whole kind of SVG. And then the top layer here, the SVG XMLNS, like I said, this is the namespace. It's where we define the SVG. And then we also have a closing tag at the end, which is the /SVG. So in order to add linear gradient to application, we do it similarly to how you declare a variable or do that in CSS. So we have to add that linear gradient into here, so into this space in here. And then all we have to do is just reference the linear gradient in a path. So just to show you how that's done, if we just navigate to this SVG. Now, like I said, we have the defs in here. This is our lineal gradient. So we're declaring the colors, we're declaring the offset, and then we are declaring the name as well in here. So we have the gradient. If I navigate to the bottom, as you can see, all we're doing here is we are declaring the gradient in our fill property. Now to reference that, we have to use the URL function and then the hashtag, and I will quickly show you how to do that. So if we just, instead of kind of typing it from scratch, I will literally just copy that snippet just to show you how quick you can do that. We will pop that into our SVG in here. So we'll pop it in the space, like I said. Before we do anything, let's just change some colors. So if I just quickly navigate to our UI gradients, and we'll pop to this website. Now, this website has a lot of amazing UI gradients. If I'm ever stuck for an idea, I go into here because they have so many cool ones. Now, as you can see, we have loads and loads and loads of them. I will just choose, let's say, we'll choose Sublime Light as an example. All we have to do is just change those two colors in a lineal gradient code in here. So we'll change this one in here. We'll remove the second hashtag, and then we'll get the other one and pop that into here. Now, again, if you want to, you can obviously play with the offsets and everything else. We don't obviously have time to do all of that. And the last thing that we need to do in here is just declare the fill. So if I just see fill, and then like I said, we need to call the URL function. And then in a URL function, we'll put a hashtag. So if we just pop a hashtag, and then it's gradient. Like I said, I've got terrible goldfish, Mary. I nearly forgot that. Gradient, and then we'll close that off. And now what should hopefully happen is if I close that off, we have that nice lineal gradient. Now, how nice does that look compared to a kind of one single tone icon? That looks much better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so that's the lineal gradient. Now let's actually take it a step further. Let's add some animated rainbow. So as you can see in here, and anyone that watches me on Twitter will have seen Mr. Blobby taking on new colors. And actually, one of my favorite SVG people, Robin, if you're watching this, you're my hero. He's another SVG guru. I love Robin. He does so much cool stuff. So he did one that had he changed Mr. Blobby to have a rainbow, and I was like, oh, I want to try and do that with codes because he did one with timer. So I did that. Now, if I was to go into here, the rainbow property is very long. So as you can see, we're defining the depths again, and we have the lineal gradient. But because we're defining how that's moving, you'll see that the code is very long in here. Very long. Now, again, all we have to do in here, like I said before, is we just need to copy the defs. So if we just go into here, so we're doing it the hacker way. I'm not telling you what that code means. We're just doing copy and paste, just like some people do. And then all we need to do is open this up. Again, we're declaring it between the namespace here and the path in here. So we'll pop that into here. And the last thing we need to do is literally reference the name of that lineal gradient. Again, I don't know what the name of that was. Oh, it's gradient as well. So we'll go into here, and all we have to do is do fill, and then URL, open the bracket, hashtag gradient, close that, and as you can see, our balloon is nice and pretty again. So that's one way to add animation. Again, I'm not going to go over how that code is built, but that looks awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Right, so next thing on our list, like I said, I've got a lot of stuff here, so I'll try and be as quick as I can. It's making your animations, making your SVGs glow. Now, if I just quickly zoom in, you probably can see that we have a nice glow effect around here. We have a little bit of lineal gradient in here. Again, I'm going to show you the hacker way, so you don't have to write that code from scratch. I have already done it, so if you want to use a code snippet, you certainly can. I'm not going to be mad. All we're doing in here is, again, we have the lineal gradient, so I'll skip over that for the time being. In here, we have a very simple snippet. So what this snippet is effectively doing is creating a shadow at the back. And because we want the glow to be the same color as we have of the SVGs, the way is, if I just quickly navigate into here, we're using the merge property in here to inherit the color of our SVGs. So if I was to just show you how that works, if we just quickly go into here, and we'll pop into our icon in here. We'll pop it again into here. Now, what we want to do is, again, we want to, in this case, we are not defining the fill, we are defining the filter property. So if we just quickly do filter, and then here we'll, again, single quote URL, and then we will do a hashtag. And then what did we call it? Glow? There we go. Now, if I close that off, we should shortly, perfect, we should see black around here. As you can see, we have slightly cut off, so we can play with view box in here and the height and width properties as well if we need to. If I just quickly make that, let's say 25 as an example, that's a bit better. I can still see it's cut off. Again, it takes a little bit of practice. Again, we can make a blur slightly more close to the edges. So if we were to, let's say, change the SD deviation, we can do that. And as you can see, that will be a lot closer to the edges there. And all we need to do is just change the color. So I'm just going to choose one tone from here. Let's just copy that. Pop that into our SVG again. So if we just quickly pop another property in here, we'll do fill. Again, if you want to apply the same fill for the whole SVG, you can do it the hack away again. You can pop that into here. As you can see, we already have the fill declared in here. So you can start that in here and that should hopefully change for us. Ta-da! I'll make that glow
Yeah.
slightly more intense just so we can see it a bit better. Please ignore the cut off edges on there. So as you can see, that's as easy as you can make it glow. Right, next one. Let's see how it can actually animate it. So I'm going to do one quick animation just because I'm mindful of the time. As you can see, we have an SVG that's floating. Now, if you wanted to replicate that in Power Apps, you'd have to use a timer, like I said, and you probably wouldn't be able to get that smooth effect. It would be a little bit more kind of sharp because
Yeah.
you'd have like, it would be a kind of, if you're a gamer, you'll know what frames are.
Yeah,
It would just look
yeah.
very kind of very framey. So if I just navigate into here again, I'm going to do it the hacker way. I've already put a code snippet in here, so you can just copy and paste that into your application. If I think I've popped that on the bottom, there we go. So to animate that, we're using an animate transform function, and we are animating the transform attribute. And all we're doing in here is, this is our starting point. This is what we wanted to do, and this is the ending point. So 11 is a Y property, so this is why it's floating to the top. If I was to just, let's say, let me just quickly zoom out a little bit. If I was to, let's say, change that to 35 as an example, actually not 3000, 35 out of 31, it will go a little bit higher and a little bit quick because the time doesn't change, but the Y property has changed. If I wanted to jiggle to the side as well, I certainly can. If I just do 31 to the X as an example, and as you can see, it's kind of going sideways. If I took the 31 from the Y and we'll just leave it as 0, what you'll see is that's kind of going to sideways now. So the easiest way to do it, like I said, is, again, we're doing it the hacker way. We are literally copying the snippet, and we don't even have to declare anything. All we have to do is pop it between, like I said, the SVG tag and the path fill. So if I pop it into here, if we've done it correctly, we will see the SVG animated to the right-hand side. Ta-da! That's as easy as it is. Again, like I said, you don't have to understand the code. I will do the hard job. You just copy and paste it and get that into the application. Now, the next one is SVG loaders. Again, this is going to be a very shameless plug, Samuel, apologies. So this is a component that I have already built that's available in my GitHub repo. And this is the loading SVG component. So if you want to have some more advanced kind of loaders, and again, I've seen people download them from places like Loading.io as an example. Yes, you can, but one thing to be mindful of is that not only can you not change the colors once you import them to your application because they are GIFs, there's also licensing that you need to be aware of. So you can't actually use them for marketing purposes or commercial purposes. So if you build an application for a customer and use a Loading.io animation, you might get in trouble if you haven't paid for the license. So again, I'm not going to bore you with the code because I'm not going to lie, there is a lot of code in here that's defining the kind of rotation of that box. But if you want to, please navigate to my GitHub. I have made this component so you can change the colors of this as well. If I was to just quickly, let's go to UI gradients, we'll just copy that and just copy the text. If we just go into here, as you can see, that color will change for us. We have plenty of them here. So I think I put 6 of them in here. We have 2, 3, then number 4, number 5, number 6. And then we have another one that I've called bonus, which is our Microsoft animated logo that I created as well. So that's as easy as you can do that. Progress SVG, again, another shameless plug. Sorry, Samuel, I promise to do marketing for my GitHub repo. But these are the components that, again, I have built for the community that you can use out of the box and import into your application. The first one is a rectangle SVG kind of progress. So if I was to just change, let's say that to 78, what you will see is that it will nicely kind of easily navigate again. You can do that with a timer control, but you will not get quite as smooth of an effect as you will get in here because we're using code. You can change anything in here as well. So as you can see, I've added a lot of properties to this component. So if you want to change, let's say, the color of this label here, as an example, you can change it to blue. That's not the best contrast. If you want to have plain color, not linear gradient, you also can. If you wanted to have, let's say, another different color in here, we certainly can add that in here. Oh, I missed the hashtag. If we just add a hashtag, you can do whatever you want with that as well. You can change the icon to whatever you want. You can do with that as well. And then a kind of circle component. So like I said, I saw something similar on Geetha's website, on Geetha's blog, as you can see. And I was really inspired to
Yeah.
kind of get something like that too. So again, with this one, you can turn the box shadow off if you don't want the box shadow at the back, if you want it to be kind of flat. And you have many more properties as well that you can import into your application. Then I have a very secret hack that I'm just about to post on my blog that I discovered accidentally. So we've talked about SVGs, Samuel. We've talked about icons in Power Apps. These are another type of icons. Now, if I was to open here, as you can see, we don't have any images at all. We don't have any SVGs. We don't have any codes. What do you think we're using here?
It isn't that. Hold on. Let's look at this. I see a text. So
Yeah.
would that be async characters or something?
Yes, so it is Unicode. So
Unicode,
Unicode is
yeah.
effectively icons built from text. I literally discovered this last night accidentally, and I thought I need to add this to my presentation, and I'm going to blog about it as well.
Wow.
Now, what this allows you to do is if you don't want to, let's say, use icons and you don't want to use SVGs because there's too much code, you can actually use the Unicode element in here. And the way it works, if I was to just quickly pop a label on my screen, let's just do a text label. And I have popped a website where you can actually copy and paste them from. So let's just go into here. We'll navigate to the website. And let's just choose a random one when that loads. Let's just choose, I'm not sure. Let's just choose the sun as an example. I'll copy the sun and then we'll paste that into here. So let's just say today is beautiful. And then we'll pop the icon in there, as you can see with Control V. And as you can see, that's in here. Now, because it is an icon, again, because it's based on obviously built from using Unicode, if I change the color of my text, that icon will change color as well. Look at that.
Yeah.
I could not believe that I could do that in Power Apps as well. And similarly as well, if you want to spice up your button, if I was to just add a button, you can add change weather, and then we can add that in here. And then obviously that's not broad enough.
Yeah.
That instantly looks a lot nicer, doesn't it? Obviously, you might use a different icon, but if you want to use a very quick fix, let's say we'll use the email as an example, and you want to go into here and then go into here. As you can see, you can add that very quickly into the application as well. The next one is text input. So based on what I've showed you so far, I have built a couple of kind of text inputs. So the text input, as you can see on here, let's just go to the top one on here. Now, this text input, in a normal scenario, you'd probably have to use an icon in here. So we use an SVG on an image or an icon, then a label, then a text input, and then a HTML control at the back. The way I have built is rather than have 5 controls, I only have 2. Now, to show you what I mean is we have the text input. So that's sitting at the top front here. If I was just quickly go, you can see that we have a text input. If I just quickly click on here and start typing, you can see that we have the text input in here. And the second one is the HTML control. So if I just quickly open the code, you will see that I actually have my email address in here. And all I'm doing is, obviously, as you can see, I have a couple of properties to make sure it sits properly in our HTML control. I am not adding a separate image control. I am not adding another label. I am containing that within my HTML control to really reduce the amount of controls and actually get a bit more flexibility, because you get things like fonts that you don't get out of the box with here as well. So if I was to change the font, let's say, do I already have a font declared in here? No, I don't. If I was to, let's say, I'm just going to move that to HTML control. If I was to open the code app, right, let me just change that to my favorite font. If we just quickly do font family, as an example, is 2 Sen MT. As you can see, we have a nice, really nice font in here. Actually, no, it's not 2. That's the font that I wanted to show you. So as you can see, that looks sleek. And again, we don't actually have that font available to us directly in the application. And like I said, doing it this way, you are reducing the amount of controls that you have in the application. Now, another one that I've done is based on the new morphic design that I showed on my Twitter and LinkedIn. And this text input, if I click on it, you'll see that it kind of goes in and it creates that nice 3D visual in here. Let's just say that's my password. I'll just say, haha, there we go. And now that. Now, as you can see, it just creates that nice kind of 3D effect
Mm-hmm.
to your application. Again, be mindful of obviously the contrast. As you can see, we have the box shadow. You have to make sure that the contrast between the text and the box shadow is correct.
Yeah.
But that just really spices up your applications very quickly, doesn't it? Um, the next one is I've just got a couple of kind of demos of what I've built before. So a couple of weeks ago, I was on the Microsoft community call and I showed a couple of demos that I've built of navigation menus. These are for your mobile applications. There's no reason why you can't use them in your
Yeah.
uh, applications tablet form as well. So again, very simple menus, and all I'm using in these, like I said, the HTML control, and we're using the SVG, and this is how you can make that so nice. And obviously, this one is a lot over the top. It's very glowy and just very radiant. But as you can see, I like my nice light. As you can see from the
Yeah.
back, I
Yeah.
like everything to be nice and glowy and shiny. So I decided to kind of make something a little bit more out there. Again, if I was to just quickly zoom into that, let me just quickly close the play mode. Let's just zoom into this one. We'll just zoom out a little bit of this one. As you can see, we have this nice kind of navigation menu in here. All of these have the same colors, as you can see, but just work slightly differently. And then the last one, as you can see on here, is it has a little bit of animation. So I am
Animation.
actually using that animate transform that I showed you before. And as you can see, that's nicely kind of floating from top to bottom. If you want to turn it off, another shameless plug, sorry Samuel, I have actually made it available as a component on my
Okay.
GitHub. So if
Okay.
you want to use this component in your application, you can literally download it from my GitHub repository and start using it with
Using it.
loads of properties.
Okay.
Whether you want to use an SVG or an icon, you can definitely download it from there as well. Now, the next one is just a couple of demos of what I've done. So the first one is you may have seen it already on
Yeah.
Twitter and LinkedIn. I came up with this by accident because I downloaded a smart home application and I saw that and I thought, oh, this looks really nice. Let's find out more what
Yeah.
that's called. Started looking into this and I thought, I love this. So anyway, I did not realize it was going to cause like attract that much traffic, if I'm honest. Yeah, and I think one thing that I've absolutely loved is seeing people actually recreate this with different
Yeah.
icons. I've seen Louise Fries doing it with
Yeah.
Microsoft icons. Michael Roth and so many people that have done it already, and it's just mind-blowing, but it's so satisfying at the same time. So like I said, if we just click on these buttons, as you can see, they have a nice kind of indented feel
Indent,
to them, and
yeah.
that makes them look 3D as well. The next one is the dark theme
Dark
for
mode,
these
yeah.
for these buttons as well. Now with these ones, if I click on one of these, you'll see that we have a little bit of a glow around the edges as well. And all I've done in here is I've used exactly the same technique that I showed you before. So
Yeah.
we are just using the code snippet that I've already prepared that you can just copy and paste to your application and use that to make your buttons glow. Then I have two kind of mock-ups of an application that I've quickly put together. So this is a before of an application. So if you were building an application using out-of-the-box controls in Power Apps,
Yeah.
this is kind of what it might look
looks
like.
like.
Again, not the best design. I must admit. This is I'm not trying to make it ugly on purpose. I promise. But I was trying to replicate exactly what I built. And if you use the HTML control and the SVG control that I showed you, if we go to the after, ta-da! How much more modern does that look? So as you can see, we have the nice little glow around the application, around the circle here.
Yeah.
If I navigate to my buttons, we have that same glow as well. So we have a bit of linear gradient, a little bit of the glow on the side. Again, not too much, but just very subtle. If I just quickly zoom into that, there we go. There we go. And then another thing, as you can see, we have a toggle as well. So
toggle,
I've built
yeah.
this toggle in here. We
Oh.
have a nice kind of linear gradient toggle with a lot of colors. Again, this is white, but this could be dark box shadow if we wanted to. So just to kind of make it a little bit more modern, I guess. So I'm planning to connect this application to my smart home as well, and then see if I can get the data into here. And one thing that as well I've used, so just to show you that I actually do what I talk about, is I have used that Unicode icon in here.
Yeah.
That snowflake. There was no reason for me to make it an SVG. I just use that text icon in here because it looks nice enough, and that's all I need. So if we make a comparison between this one and this one,
Oh,
that
that's
is a huge.
far,
isn't
yeah,
it?
far refreshing.
That's-
But I'm
that is-
curious. I'm curious to know that the question, like, you know, the way you have the buttons, like, is
Yeah.
it interacting like, you know, the regular buttons we have in Power Apps,
Yeah.
where I can, you know, so I can pretty
Yeah.
much add events to that.
Yeah. So the way I have done it is what, and it's actually a very simple hack,
Hmm.
right? If I just quickly go to here, we have three things as you can see. We have a button, an image, which is
Oh.
SVG, and we have a HTML text. So the HTML text is what we are containing because all we're doing is we're just manipulating the box shadow. So when we press a button, we want that to be indent. We
Mm.
when we unpress it, we want that to be kind of out, whatever that word would be. Sorry, my poor English, obviously. So the way we do it, if I just open up here, what you
Okay.
can see on here is that we have in the button, we have an update context function where we are updating the contextual variable,
Mm.
um, which is called pressed button. And then as you can see, if the button isn't pressed, we have an if statement here. We want the box shadow to be this. If the button has been pressed, we want to swap to this box shadow. And that's all we're
Mm.
doing. We're not
Oh,
doing any
okay.
more magic in here.
Okay.
This is literally all you have to do to do that. And then if I just navigate to my button, as you can see, we have that in here as well. And then same for the color. So if I just navigate into here, what you will see is that we have the properties here. So we are saying if the button has been pressed, sorry, if it hasn't been pressed, I want that to be dark gray. If it has, I want it to be the URL gradient, which is here, which is exactly what I talked to you about slightly earlier on, Samuel. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's I'm probably going to spend the rest of the evening just going through your GitHub repo, which is what a lot of people are asking me in the comment. They're like, "Can you please paste the link to her GitHub?" I'm like, "Yeah, guys, chill. I'm going to put it out there. It's going to be in the show
Perfect.
description and show notes. It's going to be there."
Perfect.
But I love this. I mean,
Perfect.
it tells you that you can take a very simple, boring UI app and
Yeah.
take it to the next level. And I'm curious to see when you start your YouTube show, you know, to see the challenge, to see
Yeah.
how we can push people, beyond, the boundaries to build such
Yeah.
aesthetic stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah. So
This is amazing.
I have another quick kind of mock-up. So this is based on what's called glassmorphic design,
Mm,
and this allows you to the glassmorphic design is effectively when you have a blur applied to the background. Now in Power Apps, the blur doesn't work in HTML control, so I've kind of faked it with a little bit
mm,
of box shadow and a bit of
mm.
transparency. But all we're doing in here again is this is a more kind of flat design where we have a more kind of flat design controls. We don't have too much box shadow, don't much too much 3D, but again, works exactly the same. So if I were to just type in, let's say, salmon, as you can see, that will filter through in real life. This is making me really hungry as well looking at this. So to the bottom, as you can see, we have the menu that I showed you before
Yeah.
with the Xbox controls. I've just changed a couple
Hmm.
of things as well. If I was to just navigate into here, as you can see, we have that. We can add as many as we want to the basket. I want to just
Oh
add
my.
20 of them because I'm so hungry as well. And
Yeah.
that's a very kind of simple mock-up. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my demo, Samuel. Any questions at all?
Yes, I'm just here, and being in the context of Power Platform, being a pro developer as well as doing a citizen development, like the thoughts keep coming to my head. Okay, how did she do that? Like, she's pressing it. Like, I know this is just SVG, but how is the button reacting? How is it sending? A lot of that question. But I can assure you, go check out her GitHub repo. It's right there for you to explore, to see how she built it. But the only concern that I know is probably lingering in the minds of people is we say Power Platform is a low code, no code, and you're showing me all this plenty SVG, things. You know, how would you, how would you, how would I say, encourage someone or address that
Sell
to
it.
someone who is
Yeah.
saying, look, you said no code, low code. This is too much for me. Like, how do you address or encourage people to look beyond this?
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, and I've heard that before. So I've heard people say, Christine, this is a low code, no code platform. Why are you doing all this?
Yeah.
So because it's low code, no code doesn't mean there's no code. There is still low code that you can add. Now, if you add, let's say, 10 timer controls to an animation, you are actually in the background, what you can't
Mm,
see in the engine. You are adding more code.
yeah.
There's code running in the background to run that timer. Now, the word of encouragement from me is it doesn't matter if you're a developer, if you're just starting in tech. I am demystifying the whole thing on my blog. So if you want to learn from scratch how to do it, and I'm doing it two ways. So
Yeah.
how to learn about the build and also the hackaway. Like I said before, if you want to just copy and paste a snippet and know where to put that in,
Yeah.
that's fine by me. That's absolutely fine by me. So, because I understand, like you said, not everyone is a developer, not everyone knows any of the kind of frameworks, and not everyone will want to go that deep into it
Exactly.
anyway.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing it the hacker way. If you want to learn how to do it, obviously, like I said, follow my blog. And like I said on my YouTube channel as well, I will have a series where I am actually going to be building an application kind of designed from scratch. So you'll be able to see all of the errors I make, all of the head scratching, drinking Diet Coke 20
Yeah.
times and then having Kinder Buenos while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's my kind of word of encouragement. And on my blog, like I said, I lay it out as simply as I possibly
Possible.
can so that
Yeah.
anyone can understand how to work around them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, folks, I'm going to be sharing, her website, her blog, all that in the show description. So you see that after the show. Don't worry if you miss a live show. It's always available on the YouTube channel, on demand. So make sure once her channel is up, I'm going to make a noise about it. Subscribe to the channels, let's
Thank
grow it.
you.
Let's bring you all this awesome stuff. So Christine, parting words, what would you say? What last words do you have for people that are inspired by you, people that are I'm thinking of coming into this space and people just transitioning? Your last word to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just do it. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. You don't have to know code. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to have a computer science degree. If you like tech and you find it fun and fascinating, just do it. Don't do it for any other reason. Don't do it because you have to. Do it if you enjoy it, because then you will truly love what you do. I wouldn't be here at 10 o'clock UK time talking to you
Yeah,
if I didn't love what I did.
exactly.
So do it. Like I said, whether you're a developer or not, it doesn't matter. And I'm here to try and demystify every single thing I can to make it as easy for you. So by building components, writing a blog post, I want you to understand everything and I want you to do it the hacker way. So I'm doing the hard work. You take the code snippet and do whatever you want with it. And actually, if you build something nice, tag me. I'd love to see what you build. I love seeing people build things. I'm all about kind of celebrating wins together. And, if you build something cool, and you learn something, give me a shout. I will make sure that I repost it on my LinkedIn as well and Twitter. And yeah, just celebrate together.
Yeah, awesome. It looks like we have, we share a lot of things in common. We are both about the mystifying technology to the, barest minimum for you to understand and catch up. So I would like to say a big, 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 big thank you to Christine for joining us, for sharing and giving us insight. Some of the things I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, I know of SVG, but, not to this level. So thank you for the eye opener. And I'm going to take this to the next level. And I mean, I will always reach out. And that's a cool thing, guys. Like she said, try things out. If you're stuck, put it out in the Twitterverse. She'll come up and, try to answer or help you solve them.
Yeah.
With that
absolutely.
said, it's been, a little over an hour, but it's been worth it. It's been an exciting
Hooray.
time doing and, building this cool stuff with Christine. And I can't wait to see the challenge. I would want to see, one where we don't get the time to prep, because it's something I've also been thinking about, to say, look, we just on a live show like this and someone just drops an image of, a UI and then have us thinker, like, how do we
Yeah.
build this? It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that is exactly what I want. So I have my two favorite developers that I watch on YouTube. That's Anya Kobov and I've forgotten his name, Web Dev Simplified. That's his tag on YouTube. And he does exactly the same thing. So he does battles and stuff. So I thought, how cool would it be to have that in Power Apps
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah. Awesome, people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's 10 p.m. It's almost, I think it's 10, almost 10 something in the UK. Thank you so much, Christine, for your time.
No worries.
We appreciate this. And like I always say on the show, learn something new, be good at it, strive at it. If you don't get it, just keep pushing. Let's learn, stuff and make the world a better place through all the things we're learning. Until I come your way again next week with another episode of the Power Series, it's been yours truly, myself, Savan Ajurani, and Christine, bringing you this show. Peace, and we are out.